Everyone, thank you for your patience tonight. Madam President Robinson is here, and she will appoint committee members for tonight's meeting.
Good evening. As president of the Common Council, just for this meeting only so that we would not have to delay nor cancel this session, I will appoint myself and Lisa Chavez as committee members for this evening.
Thank you, Madam President. So it is now 5:09, and we are calling this meeting to order for April 1st, 2024, meeting of the Administration, Budget, and Finance Committee of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence. Please join us to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Let the record reflect that there are 4 councilors present and that we have a quorum of committee. The meeting has been properly noticed in accordance with the Indiana Open Door Law. Copies of our agenda for this meeting are located at the back of the meeting room. First up, we have new business, which is ratification of contracts. At the March 20th, 2024 council meeting, various contracts were referred to this committee for consideration and recommendations. The next agenda we have is a proposal to consider an update in the minimum threshold under Ordinance 1-1-2-12 for the council's approval on expenditures of professional services contracts. I understand that Deputy Chief of Staff Level will be presenting these contracts this evening. Mr. Level, please proceed.
Hi, thank you, councilors and members of the public. So yes, before the council, in accordance to Municipal Code 1-1-2-12, there are 4 contracts before you today that have been approved by the Board of Works. The administration is seeking council approval for these professional services, 2 from Creek Duval LLP, 1 from Catalyst Public Affairs, and 1 from Post Road Development. In these 4 contracts, these are professional services to adhere to the code to make sure that we are abiding by the minimum threshold of over 5,000. Each of these will need the approval of the council to have these raised and approved for each government affairs. The reason why we have them, each government affairs firms bring different sets of expertise to the table. The reason why we have engaged with these firms is they can benefit the city and offer a diverse set of perceptions and approaches to advocacy. The diverse skill set that each of these law firms bring and a lobbyist group brings will increase the chances of the city of success in achieving its legislative and policy goals. Some of these goals include zoning authority, chasing grant dollars, and working with state and local and federal levels, and also working with the city of Indianapolis. Our approach in this matter is to be proactive. Rather than waiting for opportunities to arise, we want to be aggressive in pursuing these opportunities. So we have utilized some of their expertise in moving forward with some of these contracts, particularly the lobbying firm and legal services. One caveat I do want to mention, Post Road Development is actually a temporary contract we have with our Economic Development Director. That duration of the contract was only for 3 months. That contract has now been terminated based off of his engagement now as the executive director of the Reuse Authority, the Fort Harrison Reuse Authority, and executive director of the Redevelopment Commission. So now that contract has now been terminated as of last month. Those claims have been paid by the council. And so I will still encourage the council to go ahead and approve it, just to make sure for the record that it has been paid for. Been approved, but those that contract has been paid for and now has been terminated by the city. I also want to address that all of these contracts, per the corporate counsel and the mayor's office, includes language for all of our contracts to withdraw or terminate at any point of the year. I also want to note that even the price amount that councilors may have concerns, all contracts expire at the end of the year per requirement of the law. And with that, hopefully I can answer any of your questions you may have about some of these contracts before you.
May I ask a question?
Please do.
So I am looking at the Krieg DeVault for the legal services, and it appears to be fairly open-ended, and it says that the fees and costs relating to this engagement are not predictable, and no commitment or guarantee to the client concerning the maximum fees and costs which the client may incur. This is only an estimate of such fees and costs, and David Corbett, who is the main attorney, will be charging $645 per hour, and then other people underneath will charge less. Do you have an estimate of how much you will be using Krieg DeVault?
I don't have that exact number in front of me, but I do know that in previous years that it has not exceeded over 100,000 or anywhere near that capacity. I do know, I believe it's at 72,000 if I remember correctly, or maybe that's the catalyst. Excuse me.
That's a catalyst, yeah.
But the legal aspect is based off of the requests we make. So if we ask them to do research or provide legal services, then yes, those billable hours will accrue. But particularly for David Corbett, the lobbyist who will be there, his contract for the lobbying services, we will now start getting those invoices, so we will see the fixed amount what they'll be associated with. So now the session's over, we will now see those amounts coming in as invoice for the council to approve those claims.
Okay, thank you.
So my just sort of follow-up, Chair, if it's okay, is I would think that, and maybe we're putting the cart before the horse a little bit. Perhaps we talk about the maximum amount that we're going to authorize so that we know whether or not these are in threshold, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're saying for instance, if your recommendation for the administration in terms of contracts that they have to bring forward to us, maybe it's 50,000 or greater than 50,000, right? If we approve this contract, it's open-ended. How do we even know that it even needs to come to us, right? I'm playing devil's advocate, and that really just popped in my mind. It's like, we don't have a ceiling. We don't really know the value.
Well, we operate within the professional services that has been budgeted by the fiscal body. I believe the hourly, depending on the 3 months that David Corbett has worked on us, is around 9,000. I'm getting some information about that now. And so, again, now that's just during session. Again, part of the language of the contract is that the administration, based off satisfaction of the service, can terminate that contract at any point.
So I would recommend that we just add to the language not to exceed the approved budgeted amount for that fiscal year, for this fiscal year. And then I think that would probably make everybody feel a little bit more comfortable. Like, we're not, it doesn't put a number as the not to exceed, but it's obviously in line with what you said your commitment would be, which is not to exceed the budgeted amount.
Correct.
Does that sound
See
good
what
to
you're saying.
everybody?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I would, Council Attorney, I would like to just make a recommendation that we tweak the language there to add that it will not exceed the approved budgeted amount for professional services, or whatever, however you recommend that language.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor Chavis. So just to make sure all the committee members are sort of understanding where we're at here, right? So the 4 contracts that Deputy Chief level presented are before you this evening as it relates to the current ordinance threshold, right, which is the 5,000. That's what brought them here tonight. So you'll be voting on those 4 contracts this evening. The language that's being recommended by the council to all 4 contracts to be reflected that they will not exceed the approved budgeted amount for the current fiscal year.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any committee members have any more questions regarding the contract? Anyone?
I would ask, or I would request, or I would like for us not to recommend the contract for Post Road development due to the fact that no more work will be performed by Post Road development for the rest of the year.
Right.
And we've already paid all monies owed to Post Road development.
Correct.
So I don't recommend
Fulfilled
that
and
one
terminated.
for approval out of council. And I don't know where everyone else stands on that, but we need to.
Yeah. So we can not recommend, but we still need to ratify it.
That's correct. So the committee has 3 options. You can provide a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation, and those recommendations then go to the council
Right.
for further consideration. So on all 4 contracts, you can give either of those recommendations.
Right.
Do you want to start with the one on top, Councilor Crone?
Yes, we do. I don't have a list of those. Okay. And then,
Record.
right. And then the third one. Catalyst.
Atlas, and then Post Road development.
Yeah. Okay. So we will need to consider a motion to give a favorable recommendation, unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So I'd like to make a motion that we recommend the Krieg DeVault contract to the full council.
Both of them.
Well, I think we need to do one at a time
at a
because
time.
they're all different. So I would like to recommend Krieg DeVault.
The legal
you.
services one or the lobbying one?
The first one?
Yes.
Which
Yes.
is that?
So Krieg DeVault, we will go with the legal services one.
Okay.
I actually recommend both of us do them separate. So the legal services.
Okay. Okay, yes. So thank you, Councillor Chavis. That is a motion for a favorable recommendation for the Krieg DeVault Legal Services contract. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. I heard
Councilor Jennings.
Councillor Jennings. Is there any further discussion? We will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. If the vote,
Ayes have it.
ayes have it, yeah. Also, for the record, I would like to state that we have our Councillor Jennings here for our meeting. Thank you, sir.
Apologies.
No, it's good. The next agenda item is, the Krieg DeVault, sorry. The next contract that we will be voting on is the Krieg DeVault.
Lobbying. I'd like to make
Contract.
a recommendation for, to the full council for the Krieg DeVault lobbying services contract.
Thank you, Councillor Chavis. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Mazur. Any further discussion? Then we will now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
One clarification, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to say on the record that all these should include the language not to exceed the budget amount.
Yes.
So I just want to say that.
Each individual one, yes. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, the vote is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, our next contract will be for Catalyst. Once again, do we have a motion?
So move.
So motion for a
Sorry,
recommendation.
favorable recommendation, sorry.
I will make the
ask you-
motion to recommend that we approve Catalyst Public Affairs Group with a cap of $72,000 a year as written in the contract, the professional services agreement.
Sorry, I'm writing. Thank you, Councilor Mazur. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you, Madam President. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we now proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, the vote is unanimous. Thank you very much. And that brings us to our Post Road contract. Would someone like to make,
So I do not recommend
correct,
Post Road development to the full council.
correct. How do I go about that?
Correct. So the motion is for no recommendation from the committee on the Post Road contract.
And then we
Anyone
Need a
get
second.
on that motion.
still get a second. Maybe I have a second on this? Thank you, Councilor Jennings. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll proceed for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. And that is also unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for the roll call. Okay. Okay, the next agenda item is proposal number 124, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Lawrence, Indiana, amending Title I, Article 1, Chapter 2, Section 12 of the Municipal Code regarding Common Council approval of expenditures of professional service contracts. This is the proposal I mentioned earlier in the meeting. At the March 20, 2024 council meeting, this proposal was referred to this committee for consideration and recommendations. Do any committee members have questions regarding this proposal?
I would just like to recommend that we set the approval for the administration at $50,000 annually.
Okay, thank you very much.
And the only point on that for me anyway, that I would like is that, there's been some debate in the past about, when those contracts are required to come before us based on this threshold that we've set. I would just like to request that if we foresee that the contract, or we have knowledge, and I say we, I mean the administration has knowledge that the contract will likely exceed 50,000. If you could bring that to us as far upstream as possible, that would be great. I know the scope of things can change, so I know, I'm flexible with that. But I think if there's a understanding that it could possibly exceed that amount, if you could get that to the council as quickly as possible, I think that would go a long way.
Absolutely, thank you. And no, I just want to say to the council, to the committee, and hopefully to the full council, that we absolutely intend to adhere to the professional service ordinance and make sure any contracts that we anticipate, as per the language of the ordinance, that may exceed that threshold, to present that to the council.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any other questions from council members? No? Okay, well then, We will need to consider a motion to give a favorable recommendation, unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation to the council. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make the motion to recommend to full council
Correct.
at $50,000.
50,000?
Yes.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, councilors. Is there any further discussion? If not, we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Okay, the vote is unanimous. Thank you, councilors, for your votes. The next agenda item is other business. The first other business item that we have is to discuss a committee meeting schedule. Recognizing that this committee might have several issues that it needs to consider this year, I would like to propose that we set a regularly scheduled meeting of the committee. If we need to cancel any of the scheduled meetings, then we can certainly do that, but I would like to make sure that we have dates confirmed on the calendar in case we need to meet. I would propose to the Administration, Budget, and Finance Committee schedule a regular meeting at 5 p.m. prior to the Common Council's regular mid-month meetings for the rest of the 2024 calendar year. 5 or 5:30?
5:30 would be great.
Yeah.
Just one point or concern I have about that
Okay.
is that other committees,
Right.
so if we're taking the space,
Right.
we're preventing other
Others
committees
from meeting.
from meeting at that time.
Right.
You know, I think as we go into budget season, it probably is an easier thing to carve out like a specific date because we know we're going to meet. But I don't, that's just something to consider, you
Right.
know. If we take that 5 o'clock slot and Parks or, you know, any other committee needs to meet and you've already got the room, but you don't need it, just a thought.
I'm,
Yeah, so one thing, committee members, you can always schedule special meetings on an as-needed basis for that exact reason. So if
Right.
you prefer not to set a regularly scheduled meeting calendar here tonight, that's perfectly acceptable. And to the extent the committee needs to meet, we can always call the special meeting and obtain your availability accordingly.
okay.
I would suggest that you do go ahead and schedule an April special meeting, recognizing that there will likely be another proposal coming before the Finance Committee. So I would just at least try to get the April
Okay.
committee meeting scheduled.
Also, quickly for clarification, a regular meeting would only be during budget season?
No,
no.
so you'll still call a special meeting even during budget season.
So they're all special meetings?
But why are we calling it special? Because she
I'm confused about-
calls a finance meeting and it's noticed. It's
What,
would
I
just
get,
be a
yeah,
regular
so the
meeting.
clarification, what is the difference between special and,
Oh, I see. So regular meetings can be scheduled, for example, you can lay them all out at the beginning of the year. and
Right.
Have those as regular meetings, and then the committee always has authority to call special meetings. So it's nomenclature.
okay, okay,
Either way, you can call a meeting, regular or special. Yep.
okay. But to your point, we do need,
April.
we do need April. My paper here says April 17th. Well, can we go ahead and agree here tonight for April 17th? That would be our mid-month meeting. At 5:30? Or? Okay, so it really can't be on.
I just need to check and make sure there's not another meeting being held that day.
Okay.
So pending
Do
availability.
we have, pending availability, do council members on this committee have other recommendations for better times?
I'm not saying that that's not.
No, I'm just trying to feed.
Maybe make it at 5 o'clock because it might be a long, don't you think?
For this next one, okay, 5 o'clock. Do we have a motion to approve pending availability for a special Budget and Finance Committee meeting at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, April 17th.
So, I mean, you don't need that. You're the committee chair. You can set the meeting, and you can check with everybody offline.
Okay.
If you need to change it, you can change it, but you don't need us to
Okay,
approve
okay.
it or anything like that.
Okey doke.
You're in charge.
17. Writing it down. We will check on that. Okay. Is there any other business that needs to come before the committee this evening? Anything from our counselors? No? Am I good? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for your time.